Today I wanted to talk about Jadon Sancho and his biggest regret in football. Currently he's training away from the first team Man United, and Ten Hag recently came out in an interview when asked will he ever play for Man United again, and he basically responded saying, I don't know. If you don't know the full backstory as to how he got into this mess, we'll go into that now. Basically for the Arsenal United game, Sancho wasn't included in the matchday squad. When asked about that in the press conference, Ten Hag came out and said Sancho, his level at training just hadn't been up to standard. It doesn't seem like he's putting in the effort. You know, he basically came out and publicly shamed him, to which obviously millions of people are going to see these stories and hear what he's saying. So from that, Sancho kind of got a bit offended and maybe went the wrong way about it. He jumped online and put his thoughts out on Twitter. He's since deleted the tweet that he put out, obviously regretting his decision there, but it did take a number of days for him to realize that. I think it was about 4 or 5 days before he deleted that, but we've got a copy of the tweet here, what he said, and basically we'll go through it, and not to turn this into basically like some kind of gossip column. It's more or less, it kind of asks the question, who's in the right here and maybe who's in the wrong, but also are the players represented correctly? It seems like maybe Jadon Sancho's been treated a certain way, and Ten Hag's maybe done a similar thing, but has obviously got let off. Obviously there's a bit of power imbalance there. Obviously one's a player, one's a manager, but I definitely wanted to kind of raise this and point it out because on a separate note, I did see over the summer, Harry Kane in an interview basically was asked, you know, what's the difference between American media and British media in terms of sport and the relationship with the players and the journalists and things like that. To which he came out and said he feels like the American players, obviously he follows a lot of American sports quite closely, the American football in particular, but he said the American players he feels have a bit more transparency or a better relationship with the media in the sense that they can come out, be themselves, be a bit more honest and kind of say how they really feel, which I thought was fair enough, because I know certainly when I watch games and you see the post-match interview or pre-match or whatever it might be, you know, players are asked all the same questions, they always give the same answers. It seems very robotic at times. They score a hat trick or they get a milestone in the game, whatever it might be. And when asked like, how do you feel about this? It's always, you know, it's just about getting the 3 points. It's not about me, it's about the team, all things like that. So in this case, I felt like, you know, I'm no United fan by any stretch, but I did feel a little bit for him. I definitely feel he went the wrong way about things, but you know, he was publicly called out by his manager, and then when he's kind of responded publicly, it's kind of all turned on him and it's gone downhill pretty fast. So yeah, it might be a case of who's in the right, who's in the wrong. You know, I definitely don't think that he's done the right thing, but all these comments and all these statements could have been made in private, including Ten Hag as well, who initiated this. Over the years, you see multiple managers come out in the press conferences, whether they say positive things about players, whether it's negatives. You know, hopefully I would believe that they're trying to get more out of their players. They probably feel it's a strategy to encourage them, or, you know, some players need a little push, some players need to be told, you're not good enough in order for them to step up the game. You know, everyone's a little bit different, but maybe Ten Hag has made the wrong call here when he's tried to get more out of Sancho, who we know is a great player, but maybe just hasn't reached the heights that he should at United. But anyways, in the sense that he's not said he's not good enough, he's basically said he's not working hard enough in training and whatnot. So he's questioning Sancho's character, which seems to have maybe rubbed him the wrong way, or obviously he's taken that personally, which you might be able to understand, especially if you think otherwise. So yeah, I'll read Sancho's tweet out now, which has since been deleted, like I said, but you know, it's online, so you know, you're still going to be able to find these things. He basically come out and in a statement he says, please don't believe everything you read. I will not allow people saying things that are completely untrue. I've conducted myself in training very well this week. I believe there are other reasons for this matter that I won't go into. I've been a scapegoat for a long time, which isn't fair. All I want to do is play football with a smile on my face and contribute to my team. I respect all decisions that are made by the coaching staff. I play with fantastic players and grateful to do so, which I know every week is a challenge. I will continue to fight for this badge no matter what. So basically my thoughts on that, obviously he's not said anything too negative. I think he's just felt the need to have to defend himself. The only thing that he's come out and maybe said that you could say is a negative is around the start, where he's kind of calling his manager a liar, or maybe obviously the newspapers are going to go crazy with what Ten Hag said. They're going to come out and say Jadon Sancho is lazy and he doesn't work hard in training and he doesn't care, and it just spirals from there. So yeah, I feel like he's obviously that's a reaction to what Ten Hag has said originally. So he's not started this, and whether or not Ten Hag should have basically gone to him and asked him the question and had that conversation, it could all have been resolved. But the fact he's gone online, he's now facing punishment, he's training on his own, he's away from the first team, he's got this special program, they're saying. The club's had to make multiple statements, and yeah, it looks like he's not going to feature in the squad this weekend, nor in the weeks to come. We'll have to wait and see what the verdict is of that. But yeah, my thoughts in general, obviously, it seems a little bit unfair, the fact that Ten Hag has been allowed to come out and say what he likes about the players, but the players can't say what they like about the manager. So it seems a little bit unfair, but at the same time, I do understand one's the manager and one's the player. There is a power imbalance there. One's kind of the boss, you don't want to get on the wrong side of your boss, no matter what job you do. But to have your boss call you out in front of so many people, I certainly wouldn't appreciate that. But Ten Hag, it seems like that maybe is the type of character he is. He's not afraid of a bit of confrontation. We saw when he had Ronaldo there, he wasn't scared to drop him and exclude him from squads. And when he walked off and he was protesting and walked away and left the ground and things like that, he put bans in place. And a lot of other managers, maybe a little bit more inexperienced, might be a bit intimidated by the status of a player, or obviously Ronaldo, the player he is, there's not really anyone bigger. So for him now to be doing something similar and gone toe-to-toe with Jadon Sancho, he's probably not too worried about. But yeah, just the fact that the recent news is that they don't know if he will ever play for the club again. It's a bit rough because he's quite young, he's still got a lot to prove. An English player, people probably wanting to see him get more minutes and see what he can do, especially if that means he's going to be able to play for the national team and help out there in future tournaments. On that aspect, it's obviously a little bit disappointing. Not to get too involved into all the gossip and things like that, but it's more just, I wanted to get a feel and put this out and maybe get a bit of a response in terms of what do people feel is correct. I know on other social media chains, there's like a Team Sancho, Team Ten Hag, and obviously if you like him as a manager, you're going to be pro Ten Hag. If you like Sancho as a player, you might be more pro Sancho. But in terms of this situation, if we isolate it down to what's allowed to be said by some people and not, I feel maybe it's a little bit rough on him, but at the same time, I would not have advised him to do anything he's done in terms of coming out online. It just seems like maybe there's a double standard in terms of what's allowed for some and not allowed for others. And fans of football, at the end of the day, we want to ask the players and get an honest response. We want to be able to see how they're feeling. With social media these days, there's so much footage about what's happening behind the training ground and all these things that go on Instagram, and they're all playing little promotional games and things like that. So we want to see more of our players. We want to not know them just as players, but as people, and we want to see what they're doing and what their hobbies are. We want to see them on YouTube playing golf and what they do with their friends, and we're following them online and they're doing promotional things elsewhere. So for him to come out and kind of express himself freely, it seems a bit rough for us to then say, oh, you shouldn't be doing this. You just need to kind of bite your lip and just cop it, basically, when someone's come out and publicly just put his whole character straight under the bus and said he doesn't work hard, and all he's come out is basically said that he just wants to play with a smile on his face and he is working hard, and there's some other things going on, and it puts a lot of things in question. Obviously, there's a lot going on with other things at the club right now with the Anthony stuff. Obviously Greenwood just left, which is big news around there, but obviously Maguire's under fire, of course, as always. So timing's not great around this, but yeah, I thought I'd just get my thoughts out there and hopefully hear some back about what we think's going on there and maybe what it looks like in future with regards to players being able to express themselves fully, especially when they've been called out by a manager, to which I don't think is fair to have happened in the first place. So yeah, I mean, they're both in the wrong in some degrees, and they're both, fighting for themselves, and they've both got a job to do at the end of the day, which is to play football and win football games. So yeah, let me know what your thoughts are. Certainly drop it in the comments below. If you've liked what I have to say, chuck a like on the video. But otherwise, that's been Redmate today. I've been Ant. Thanks for watching. We'll see you in the next one.